We're back from hiatus with episodes surrounding Worf and both his brothers, amongst others. This is Best of Trek, Worst of Trek, the show where I rank every live-action episode in the Star Trek franchise. I'm your host, Dustin Wing. Being stubborn at 377, the Tar People. Or the Ensigns of Command. Episodes like this are why I just took a month off. I gave this one too much credit in my first watch, and this is as low as I can make it. It's not bad Trek, but more mediocre than starting off the best half of these rankings. Shockingly, the umpteenth unknown colony of humans that aren't where they're supposed to be are discovered in the space of the Sheliak Corporate. The race of tar beings that value the absolute letter of their lengthy legal contracts. By treaty with the Federation, they demand the removal, despite them living on a planet of radiation that should kill them, interfere with transporters, and the Enterprise isn't equipped to evacuate thousands of settlers that mostly don't want to leave. So they send Data to negotiate with this group of stubborn humans who are more interested in their ancestral accomplishments against adversity than seeing the immediate threat of an alien race that can wipe them out from orbit. He goes for an off-logical programming solution to this illogical group of people and shows them how much damage he can do to their aqueduct system with one phaser, which finally gets the colonists to capitulate. Meanwhile, Picard frustratingly deals with legalese trying to get the Sheliak to see reason, and this gives us one of the worst named races in the franchise, the Grisellas, who are currently hibernating, still waiting for the on-screen depiction of the bear race. Some good character development for Data in a mostly frustrating to watch plot. Sprinting through the forest is number 376. Transmission sent. Or Si vis Pacha Parabellum. We're deep into the first Klingon Federation War, and Starfleet is looking for a way to break the Klingon cloak. They think they can use a natural crystal resonator on a planet to help see cloaked ships. That assumption backfires when Burnham, Saru, and Tyler try to make it happen. Turns out the planet isn't as lifeless as previously thought, and energy beings make first contact with the landing party. This gets General Order 1 involved, and now they've got to get permission to mess with the transmitter. Though, when the beings enter Saru, they change him, and this decent episode goes a bit downhill from here. We learn Kelpians have super speed when he goes after Burnham trying to complete their mission. Though, in 3 subsequent seasons so far, we haven't seen this heightened ability used again. We go through a classically hokey fight scene before Saru snaps out of it. The beings of the planet don't broadcast what the team was there to do, but a signal calling all Klingon and Federation ships in an effort to bring peace. There's also subplots about L'Rell foe-killing Admiral Cornwell as the two bond, and Stamets not doing well with his newly altered DNA. The Pavan race, which is like the entire planet mixed together as an entity, are interesting. But this seems so boring compared to what's going on in the season arc. Looking for clues at 375? London Town. Or Elementary Dear Data, an episode that's one of the best that the first 2 seasons of TNG has to offer, but it's still got some issues. Starting with the intro, where the Enterprise is literally just hanging in space waiting to rendezvous with the USS Victory, which segues into a corny joke about Geordi building a model of the sailing ship Victory as a gift for his former captain from his last posting. The crew in general are in a relaxed mood, and Geordi convinces Data it's time to do the Sherlock Holmes thing he's been interested in. Pulaski tags along to show us bigotry towards synthetic life and pushes Data to up the difficulty of the program. Geordi unknowingly creates a problem by misspeaking that he wants a character that can defeat Data, not Holmes, and out pops the ultimate iteration of his arch-nemesis, Professor Moriarty. He takes the Doctor hostage and eventually takes control of the ship. It ends in an anticlimax when Picard rolls a speech check and convinces Moriarty to give back control of the ship, while they work on a way to make him a real boy someday. This one's silly at times, but a solid watch, and sets up the wonderful ship in a bottle later in the run. Dealing with the morality of the Prime Directive at 374, let them die. Or Homeward. I know this one isn't well received by some due to the fast and loose nature of the Prime Directive being upheld over the franchise, It's okay to save Wesley from a dumb death sentence, but saving a race of people about to go extinct is well outside the letter of the law here. I can definitely understand both sides of the argument, but this episode even shows us those unintended consequences of best intentions. Worf's human foster brother Nikolai is a cultural researcher studying the development of the Borellans, when a rare phenomenon occurs and starts melting away the planet's atmosphere. When the Enterprise responds to the distress call, they find he's used tech to help shield a village of natives in caves. He tries to get Picard to save them, but Picard's like, sorry, no, Prime Directive, you understand. So Nikolai goes ahead and does it anyway, beaming them to the holodeck simulating the caves. They then send them on a trek that changes their view of the stars. In the process, one of the Borellans gets out of the holodeck and discovers the true meaning of the universe. It's too much for him, and he takes his own life knowing he can never truly go back to his own people or remain with aliens. This illustrates why the Prime Directive exists. While this guy would have died anyway, they're not out here to play God. They otherwise resettle the Borellans successfully, and Nikolai stays behind because, yeah, he way more than violated the Prime Directive by knocking up not future Mrs. Sisko. There's some nice late-in-the-game character development for Worf here, and a better episode than I believe other rankings would indicate. Getting someone else to do your dirty work at 373. Win Civil War. Or Shakaar. In a bid to consolidate power, Wynn also seizes the title of First Minister when the previous one dies. Kira, still mourning the death of Bareil, is tasked by Wynn to get her former resistance leader and friends into Core Province to give back soil reclamators lent to them by the government. Turns out the government isn't playing fair, and neither is Shakaar. Kira and her resistance cell play cat and mouse in the hills with Bajoran forces sent after them, till they realize this is the beginning of civil war, and lure the soldiers into a truce. They force Wynn to abdicate the office of First Minister or tell the public she was ready to start a war over garden tools. This is a really decent episode in the story of the Bajoran people and gives Kira some new focus and purpose after the death of Bareil. Then, there's one of the worst, most throwaway B-plots in DS9 about O'Brien being in the dart zone, culminating in him dislocating his arm playing darts. I know his shoulder's all messed up from kayaking over the years, but it's the most ridiculous injury I might have ever seen in TV history. Splitting the difference at 372, Futility. Or Sins of the Father. This one is very much a classic, but has its problems. In the follow-up to Riker doing officer exchange on a Klingon ship in the previous season, the Enterprise takes on a Klingon commander to fill the first officer role temporarily. It's really this first complete half of the runtime that's the problem with the episode. While it sets up Kurn being Worf's brother, that's not revealed till just before we hit the third act in the script, and Federation officers following Klingon discipline just isn't a strong enough premise to lead us to the real meat and potatoes that this one brings to the overall Klingon story. Kurn reveals that their already mostly dead house was being dishonored because of false claims by Duras. The first portrayal of a recurring family of schemers that really aren't as good at their plotting as they think. He's trying to turn the dishonor of his own father against Worf's about betraying the Empire at Khitomer where Worf's parents died. The Council even knows its faults and paints this race that's supposedly honorable in many shades of grey. Picard as Worf's Chadich is some of the best acting Patrick Stewart gets to do across the franchise. It also sets up much of the Klingon drama for the rest of the series. While a classic, half a great episode only makes it halfway up this list. Not into shenanigans at number 371. Tom Hart's B'Elanna. Or Day of Honor. In the episode that both kicks off 7 of 9 as an individual and the romance of Paris and Torres, we get a look at some more Klingon melodrama. B'Elanna is encouraged to live her Klingon side up a bit in the traditional Day of Honor ceremony, which of course involves eating some random stuff and getting zapped by pain sticks. A group of refugees fleeing the Borg don't take kindly to Seven's presence during the trade with Voyager. We finally get to see a warp core ejection actually work for the first time in Trek history, and these grifters try to steal it before Voyager can get it back. When Tom and B'Elanna go in a shuttle to retrieve it, they end up in EV suits and conveniently running out of air. Oxygen deprivation and imminent doom force the pair to confront the chemistry that seems to have been there ever since early in Season 2. When the core is lost, it's said that Voyager won't be able to go to warp without it, even though tech specs clearly indicate at least a place on the ship for a second warp core to be. We'll just go with it never being installed, with the captain's yacht never likely installed either.
Computer.
That program is available.
Thanks, Major. Major, Major. Thanks, Major. Major, Major.
Program complete. You may enter.
Thanks, Major.
Program complete.
Major, Major.
Define parameters of program.
Thanks, Major.
Access denied.
Thanks, Major. Major.
Override protocol has been initiated.
Thanks, Major.
Affirmative.
Major, Major.
Accessing.
Thanks, Major.
Holodeck 5 is in use.
Major, Major.
The structural integrity field has been compromised.
Thanks, Major.
Oxygen level at 114 millibars.
Major, Major.
Warning.
Thanks, Major.
When the ships have sailed and the mermaids drown, when the jig is up, where will you go? And they're all resigned not to drink the